The first month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations, and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from $1,300 to $1,800. The food prices are too high. I've cut back on eating because I literally cannot afford food. I've cut back on my favorite snacks, cat food, treats. I'm exhausted all the time from being overworked and underpaid. You don't catch a break when you grow up poor. I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be able to live comfortable. I just really need to catch a break right now. I'm trying so hard and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't have family. I don't have anything to fall back on.
So as a man, I'm just going to sit up here and tell a lot of women, we don't care. It is what it is. We tried to tell y'all exactly what it is. There's a lot of men in relationships that try to tell women that, hey, it is very difficult out here being a man. It is very difficult out here being the breadwinner. It is very difficult out here just depending on yourself solely and trying to make ends meet. But a lot of women didn't want to listen. They wanted to be like, oh no, I can do it all on my own. I can do it all by myself. I got this. I don't need a man. I don't need to get married. I don't need any support. We're in this boss girl era. We're in this get the bag era. And this is what it gets you. This is what it gets you, where you have the majority that is in the United States crying. And if they're crying, if the top of the top, if the main representatives of women in the United States is out here crying, what does that then mean for the rest of the women directly out here? Oh, it's going to be far, far, far worse. Because remember, at the end of the day, no matter how these women decide to act or talk when it deals with their men, at the end of the day, they're still together behind the scenes, behind closed doors. They're still, while they're putting out the propaganda and doing all of the stuff that they want to do, they're still together. They're still dependent on each other. They're still with each other. They still support each other, and they will make sure that they are not going to fall. They're going to make sure that they're not going to lose their stance or their power. Now, when you decide to put this into the perspective of black men and black women, this is not the same thing. And that's the missing part that I don't think a lot of people understand. See, when you deal with the majority, right? When you deal with the mass, that is the main representative of the United States, you have that support system that is there. Now, when you have black women deciding that they want to do the exact same thing that they see somebody else do, they don't have that same support system. They can't go out here and just say whatever it is that they want to sit up here and say. They can't go out here and do whatever it is that they want to do. They can't go out here and put out and push whatever propaganda and then come right back home and be like, okay, yeah, I got, this man that basically supports me, and that it's not the same thing. When black women do this, they're literally 100% on their own. There is not a man that they can depend on to protect them or support them and whatnot or whatever. There is not a system set in place where they are both making money directly off of the propaganda that is being pushed and yada, yada, yada. It's just a one-sided deal, and somebody's going to get shafted, and it's going to be the black woman at the end of the day. So again, like I said before, if the main person who is the representative, who is supposed to be the face of woman or womanhood in America, is crying like this, and they're stating that they're not able to make it, that it's a struggle for them, it's going to be bad for every other woman directly out here.
I'm not dating a man that does not come from a two-parent household. I don't care what race you are.
You came from a two-parent household?
No, but I'm going to explain to you why. There's a big difference with the man who was raised with his mother and father versus a man who was just raised with his mother. And I had the pleasure of marrying a guy who was raised by his mom, and I dated seriously a guy who was raised by both parents. It's a big difference. And coming from a household where I was raised by my mom, as a grown woman, I'm telling you, it's a difference.
I do agree that there is a difference, but I can't necessarily say that I'm only going to deal with men who came from a two-parent household, because I didn't come from a two-parent household. So I can't put judgment on another person and say that's what you have to have. But have you worked and do you acknowledge that because you didn't have that, that you do have some deficiencies?
Yeah,
I
but
know as a woman, I have some deficiencies, and it took me a while to know that.
Mhm.
But I realized that I do have some deficiencies. And of course, like he stated, it's a constant work in progress.
Right.
I have to check myself when dating a man and he says a certain thing. He's like, I don't like that you did that. I have to then check myself and say, you know what? I'm sorry.
I just want to give a shout out to the second Black woman who was speaking, for being grounded in reality and understanding the fact that, hey, if I came from roughly the same area, I can't judge another person because I could be suffering or going through the exact same things, or maybe I might not have any of the things that the woman was listing specifically about men. This is why it is necessary to have other women there who actually push against, who have another thought process. Because far too often in these podcasts or on these channels, I've seen just a group of women and only one type of thinking pattern. Nobody has any type of critical thinking. Everybody is just agreeing just to agree. Nobody is questioning nothing. And I promise you that if this woman was not there, that the other women would have just allowed whatever it is that that first woman spoke on to just fly, and just let that to be some type of magical fact, and let that to be how it is that all women should just judge guys, which makes no sense because a lot of people come from single parent households. So it's messed up to try to discount men from these households when women come from these exact same households too. So if men are coming from these households and holding on to this trauma, that would mean that women are doing the exact same things too. Why? Because they're looking at their mother. They're seeing what it is that they are specifically going through. And they're also absorbing that due to the fact that they are, or soon enough will be, a young woman or a full-fledged woman. So they're going to hold on to that trauma and whatnot a lot more than a young man would. Right? So, like I said, for again, and for a lot of women out there, this is why you have to be very cautious and very careful of the content that you allow your children to consume directly online. This is exactly why this is a little bit light. It's not as severe as some of the other content that I have showed before, but this is getting directly up there. This is right up there with the other things that women have stated, like, oh, you got to have a six pack. Your body as a man got to build this, certain type of way. You got to be a certain type of height. You got to have a certain type of money. Again, it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. But yet, in the same instance, you don't hear guys in return saying hundreds of wild things of how it is that a woman has to fit 1 through 100 in order to be considered a wife or a mate or what have you.
Hey y'all, my name is Miss Pentecost, and I am the minister in drag. I am a first-year seminary student at the Boston University School of Theology, and in my free time, I travel the country and preach that good word and get into a little good trouble in those good churches, all right? Now, some would say that I put the her in heretic, but today I'm gonna be putting the queer in the Bible because I want to talk to y'all about my favorite queer biblical characters, and Today I'm going to talk about my all-time favorite queer biblical character. Some might know him as the OG, the JC, aka Jesus Christ, the big man in the sky, y'all. Now, some of y'all will say, now, Miss Penny, queer Jesus was not taught to me at my Sunday school. And to that, I would say that's probably correct, but that is okay, because questioning and engaging our faith and questioning and engaging that what we have been told over and over again from childhood is good and it is holy. Now, queer Jesus. So I believe that Jesus was queer because he queered the social structures of families, and indeed he had a relationship with the beloved disciple to whom he loved most of all. Some would say it was John, some would say it's Thomas, some say it's Mary Magdalene. I believe it was Lazarus, the man he brought back from death. Now, the reason why I say this is because Jesus wept in front of his tomb for 4 days and visited his family over and over again. And when Lazarus was brought back to life, metaphorically, I don't know, he followed Jesus around for the rest of his ministry. And then Jesus' last breath, his last wish was to his mother, also named Mary, but not Mary and Martha Mary, which were Lazarus's own little queer family back home. But anyways, Jesus' last wish to Mary, mother of Christ, was to take his beloved disciple, his partner, into the family, thus queering the family structure and the line of familyhood. And that has been your little minute to win it sermon with Miss Pentecost. And I hope y'all have a wonderful evening.
You know, the best that I got for you is welcome to the new world. Right. This is the new world that a lot of people wanted and asked specifically for. And like I said, I was, kind of raised in the church, right? Going to private schools and such when I was very, very young. And these explanations were not a part of anything that was taught, even whispered or heard of. And, it's quite amazing how things transpire because originally people were theorizing, right, that Jesus had a wife that, was not written about, that nobody knew about, and so on and so on and so on, because you got years that were unaccounted for and all of these things, right? And we go from that, and this was like decades upon people trying to theorize and trying to figure out certain things. And now we go to this. And I'm like, huh? How did we even get here at this moment of time? Like I said, I don't know what to tell people. There's a lot of things transpiring. There's a lot of things happening at this moment in time. It is what it is, I guess. So, hey, here's the new world for the rest of y'all.